And you are listening to Linda Pinizzato at the Hayes FM on the Condo Expert. Today we're talking about the different types of situations that could come about. And these are a little bit more unique than just the type of problem that you may have with your own unit. I know that, people get concerned because they consider, if somebody above them is dropping cigarettes on their balcony, that is a huge complaint for them. They have a complaint if they feel that there's too much noise coming from the men next door or somebody above you, and that is their unit problem. A lot of times what people don't realize is the things that are a little bit more extenuating, things that unless you're involved where you're getting some kind of a reporting system, and as you know, I'm involved. I am the founder of the Condo Owners Association in Ontario. And we do have COA Toronto and COA Mississauga and several other divisions across the province. I actually welcome you. I'm going to give you a shout out to itmayday.com because they've handled our free of charge. They've handled our website, and I've actually sponsored it myself to keep it running. So if you please take a look at it, coaontario.com. And if you're in Toronto, you can look at coatoronto.com or Mississauga, coamississauga.com. And you will be able to see all the videos and obtain so much documented information about condominiums. It absolutely floor you. There is no website out there that can offer the same type of information and coverage that the Condo Owners Association can do. So I welcome you to step forward. And I thank IT Mayday for stepping up to the plate and recognizing that we needed help. So getting back to condominiums. Condominiums are here to stay. If you're sitting across the dinner table and you're looking at your children this evening, what you need to do is remember that they are your future condo owner. And it's probably just around the corner for some. I got involved in condominiums back in 1999 because I was actually looking at purchasing one for my children so that I would have it available rather than renting for them to go to university. I thought it would be ideal to own a condo, and then they could have a place to live while they're going through their studying. And it was the perfect opportunity because in 1999, really, that was probably the first sign of a major launch on condominiums in 1999. And those buildings were actually finished in around 2001. Nowadays, we have over 580,000 units across the province. Interesting enough, one key thing that's happening with new construction right now is the decision-making process of how far should the developer go for energy efficiency. And that's an interesting one because, there's a lot of companies out there that are basically persuading their board of directors to come in and do a total change of underground lighting systems or heat pumps. But these things are expensive. They're way over and above what the automatic budget would be of any condominium, that's for sure. So a lot of times funding is going to be a problem because these buildings don't have the monies to immediately make the decision that they're going to change all the underground lighting. So some of it they could access through the reserve fund, but not everything. Just depends. It depends on the situation. Every condo building is different. What I will always support, there's no question, is having one condo document for every building so that we don't have so much confusion. Wouldn't it be really nice to know that if you moved from point A condo to point B condo, that condo document is basically the same other than some extra bylaws and so on that had to be, included to cover the differences between the two condos. But the overall information about the condominiums and the responsibility of the directors and, the qualifications and the guidelines relating to how to use and access reserve funds and the voting process. These are all generic. There's no reason in the world why any condo board, anyone out there, would try to seek changes and make an amendment or a bylaw change to these condo declarations. There's no reason for it. That should stay universal. And at least that way it will stop some confusion with respect to condominiums and condominium ownership. I think that, some board of directors, I have to tell you, my heart goes out to some. It really does. Like, a lot of times I will get an email from a board member who really understands a lot, and they're a little bit confused because they go to these board meetings and they're thinking, geez, that doesn't sound right. What am I going to do? They don't know what to do because they're up against a hard plate here. The majority vote are controlling the room. So I don't want anyone out there to believe that we're like, taboo, I'm against board of directors. No way, that's not the case. I'm against board of directors who are crooked as hell and have absolute no degree of transparency, and they manipulate their situation. That's who I'm against. We all like to give time and volunteer and try to help if we can. So, and that's how I got involved in a board, is I just wanted to help. I knew that with my real estate background and some connections I had in the building world, that I would be able to really help this building obtain a good footing, on the first stage of their ownership, of all the unit owners' ownership. And I knew I could do that. And that's why I thought, well, you know what? It's not that complicated. I mean, it's only like maybe a meeting a month or two a month at the most, and the decision-making process, considering that I have this information, is going to be easy enough to do. So I didn't really see it as being a huge problem. I really saw it as being a tremendous benefit to the condo owners in the building that I'm involved in. So that was the only reason why I got involved. And I have to tell you, there was a large degree of fear knowing that if I didn't get involved and we all of a sudden got a corrupt board, oh my God, it would be a lot harder for us to get rid of this board than to just not say, okay, fine, you know what, I'll do it. I'll make sure everything is okay and let's move forward. So, there's learning curves. There's definitely learning curves. There's no question about that. There's learning curves on everything in life. There's no two ways about it. And that's why I really do a shout out right now to the condo owners all across our province and ask you sincerely to please stand up, pay attention to what's going on. Help us help you. Register with the Condo Owners Association immediately. Click the button. Sign your information, press send, you're involved. That's it. That's how easy it is. The lack of enforcement is where the biggest problem is. A lot of people won't be doing things if they know that they can get in trouble for it. But if they don't have any way of anyone finding out what they're up to, well, then that's where the problem is. And those doors are closed. Property management, they are behind the door on the other side, and all they care about is they just don't want to lose that contract. So I think once licensing comes in place, and I know next week I'm going to have a real estate lawyer actually is going to be speaking on my show next week, just to give everyone the guidelines on, closing a real estate transaction and things to pay attention to and so on and so on. Leave it up to the experts. I think that information on the legal side of condominium ownership would be really, really important. And not necessarily just for people who are looking to buy right now, but also people that own. Sometimes that's what we do. We contact our lawyer, we close the deal, and then that's it. You never hear from your lawyer. You never contact your lawyer anymore because you figure that there isn't any reason to, and why pay the exorbitant cost of legal fees? Well, I think that what you do want to pay attention to is that you do have home ownership. Number one, you definitely need a will. And number two, you also need to have power of attorneys in place, whether they're for real estate or for personal medical. You definitely need something of that nature in place. So there's a lot of reasons other than just closing your deal that you would want to, have a good discussion with a real estate lawyer. I saw another plan than that one. That was interesting. That was very interesting. I saw a plan that had about 5 different entities in it. There was one entity that would be a residential condominium unit. There was another entity that would be a hotel. There's a third entity that would be parking lot that was shared between everybody. And then the fourth one was live-work units, which means they're supposed to be units that you live in and work in under regulation of whatever the document says, but sometimes people abuse those. And then there was another level of commercial property. So Talk about a complicated deal. That's a very complicated deal. And you're talking about trying to make sure, setting up your documents so that everybody has to work with one another. And you certainly have to have a different structure, a different corporation for each of these entities. You could never put it all under one umbrella. I know that Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation and Genworth, they have particular restrictions on some styles of condominiums. And that's why pre-approval is so important. If you've got pre-approval, then at least you're going to know what kind of styles that you should actually step forward and take a look at. Because, I mean, if they're not going to cover your financing and you can't get your mortgage, there is absolutely no point to, number one, seeing the property, much less buying the property. So, I think that these are a lot of pointers today, because the key thing with condominiums is, again, is awareness. Things that you would never, ever think about. Do you know that some people in a condominium, do you know what they do? They're cooking and they actually throw grease down their drains. They throw cooking oil. They even throw kitty litter down their drains. Can you imagine? They think that that is going to go from the 25th floor all the way down, not interfere with anything anywhere, and it's going to go out to the main sewer lines, and there you go. Never mind about our environment. That's another issue. But this is what they do. The crazy part about it is most of the plumbing in condominiums doesn't flow through from one floor all the way down from the 25th all the way to the first. You have risers. You'd have to break it down as you come down the height of the building. I've seen pipes where, the pipe is, say, 2.5 inches thick. Do you know that I've seen pipes with so much guck on them that this pipe has maybe 1 inch of clearance on it? Because of people doing that. But not only is it because of that, it's also because the board, not knowing, has never even arranged to call in a plumber to flush out the piping systems. So, you wonder, you just wonder, what does it take now? And I have to think about this for a minute, because that actually came into my mind when I heard about this whole piping problem in these units. I started actually thinking about that, because there is a way to have a sort of a degree of preventative medicine, and making sure that you're doing proper maintenance repair in condo buildings. So that came to mind, because I'm really honestly so bewildered about this pipe issue. It's the first time in all these years have I ever heard of anything of that nature happening. They also say, sometimes people think that it's a great idea that you should take baking soda. Maybe, I've actually heard of, certainly don't use any types of acid. Oh my God. But I've heard people, they flush down with hot water, and then they throw in hot vinegars, and they put in baking sodas and all these other, homemade contraptions. I really think that, if you do run into a case where your drains are that bad, stop for a moment, talk to property management, register a complaint. And if you're not getting any answers, just do your one floor. Doing these self means may not be the smartest thing to do, because it's not just your drain. And not only that, your problem may not even be coming from your drain. Maybe the problem's coming from the drain 5 stories up. Remember, you're in a condominium. It's a condominium community. There's other people that are involved in these problems. It's just not yours. I will almost guarantee that if your unit has a problem, chances are units around you will have a problem. Balcony deterioration, something that's really interesting, and again, people don't think too much about, is that it's, directions of your building. Like, if you're facing south, or you're facing, the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west, and remember that. So when you're buying a property, and if you are overlooking Lake Ontario, and, the fact that you are so close to the water and the type of environment and so on, yes, you could have the different environments around you affecting the wear and tear of your particular balconies. Balcony deterioration, a lot of people really don't understand how this all happens, because they don't realize that, balconies are porous because, of course, they're made out of construction. And what do we get? We get acid rain, snow, sleet. These are things that we get. These are normal atmospheric entities that our balconies are exposed to. So if you take a look at, just the carbon dioxide, moisture, your forming of the process, how this all relates to one another, and you take a look at the fact, and I mean, some people, what they do is they even allow their pets to urinate on the balconies, not thinking that the urine embeds itself in the concrete. So you've got reinforced steel, granted, but then you've got your concrete. So the bottom line is as you maintain the interior of your unit, you should also put more consideration to the exterior of the unit. I'm really surprised that they just don't mandate that all of these concrete floors in the balconies should be sealed. I can't tell you how many new construction buildings that I see, and none of them are sealed. Actually, most of them aren't even swept, much less sealed. So I think preventative medicine is always good. So I will be right back. You're listening to Linda Pinizzotto at the Condo Expert. Stay tuned to the Hayes FM.